Hi, this is Bob Burke with the Multi-Millionaire Mindset Podcast. And I'm very excited today to have my good friend Mike Russo, CPA, on as a guest. Hi, Mike.
Hello, Bob.
So let me read a little background on Mike. Mike Russo, CPA, was the managing director of the Rochester, New York office of Freed Maxick. Mike concentrates his practice to individuals and business taxation and business consulting areas and counsels clients on tax strategies, planning, compliance, and audit issues on U.S., state, and international matters. He has represented clients in matters before the Internal Revenue Service and New York State Department of Taxation. In addition, he consults clients on business formation and profit enhancement matters, as well as compensation and retirement plan design. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you, Bob.
Can you tell us a little bit about your background and experience in our field?
Sure. And when you say our field, my field is really accounting, but with that, I've learned that that's only part of the equation, what people look for. They also want to be able to know what to do with those profits that are left over, how they can invest it and build wealth. So the crossover is pretty seamless. We, first of all, try to put as much money in an individual's pocket with after-tax dollars, or let's say after-tax dollars that we can then build wealth with. And some of those dollars are pre-tax in the form of lowering their tax burden by increasing the retirement nest egg, so to speak. So although that's pre-tax, what that does is reduce their overall tax burden, puts more spendable income in their pockets to build wealth outside of, let's say, a qualified arrangement.
Yeah, that's right. What would you say you love the most about your job?
I think when you can leave somebody with more money than they were expecting, if you can lower their tax burden, and oftentimes that involves putting a qualified plan in place that allows them to build wealth with pre-tax dollars that kind of runs in parallel with their post-tax wealth building.
What initially attracted you to accounting?
I happened to be good at it, I guess. When I was, back in my younger days, that was so long ago I can barely remember. But I saw people struggle with accounting, and to me, it was natural. It was like, how could you not understand that? How could you not know that? Or how could you not just be able to take what you see on a piece of paper and turn that into accounting terms, so to speak? And it was very natural for me to do that. So I figured, geez, I must be pretty good at it because nobody else is getting it, and they're all coming to me for help. So let me run with it. But like I said, you start by saving people money on their taxes, and then as they build that wealth, they come to rely on you more and more for the holistic financial piece of it as well. I've had some running jokes, if you will, over the years is, Mike's building wealth for my wife for her second husband. So I think that they understand the fact is if they live long enough and can retire, they'll retire comfortably and be able to then take those dollars and move forward.
Yeah, isn't that gratifying when you see clients that we've really been able to jump in there and help them, and then you kind of see the end results. And, that's certainly one of my favorite things is when we get that good feedback, that people really appreciate what we do. It kind of keeps you going, From a tax and financial planning perspective, what current opportunities are you seeing kind of on the landscape?
They continued with indexing for inflation, be able to put more and more money away,
right?
Regardless of the type of plan you have. But as people get farther in their careers, they're able to take let's say a 401k contribution and turn it into a defined benefit type of plan, and they are able to put more money away than they had ever envisioned or that they had ever conceived was available to them. And layering on top of that is the fact is, we've been able to, people with insurance needs have been able to go out and put insurance products into these plans at a very cost-effective life insurance acquisition. So if somebody who had a need and always kind of was on the edge of buying insurance or not, when we point out the fact that you have this need,
right,
and now we can make it service it with pre-tax dollars,
That's right. Yep.
it becomes something of becomes a no-brainer for them. And the one thing that you run into, and Bob, you're a bit more advanced than most, but some financial advisors, are cautioning folks about life insurance getting trapped inside of a retirement plan or a qualified plan of some sort, and thinking it's a very expensive way to get life insurance, and it's just the opposite of that. They just don't understand it.
Yeah.
They don't know that you can get the life insurance out of a plan very inexpensively.
Oh, yeah.
And that they've really created more wealth and service their need for insurance, life insurance, with pre-tax dollars. So it's a tremendous win when you can demonstrate that. It's a great solution that you can come up with that people just aren't familiar with, and people are just terribly happy with when we're all done with it.
2 points I'd make to kind of support your point. The first is, and this is both from personal experience. So the first was my dad, we had life insurance for him inside a retirement plan, and it was tremendously beneficial for my mom, to help support her lifestyle today. So it really worked out really, really well. And then the other one is actually on myself. I've got insurance inside my cash balance plan, with the idea being that the way I would look at it, Mike, it's kind of like pension fulfillment. Like, in other words, nobody's planning on dying, right? So, but if you do die and you die younger, then the pension's basically fulfilled early. Does that make sense?
Sure. That's a way to kind of polish off the funding of the plan when you're not here to do it. But I think even more importantly, in the case of your dad, who I assume, was getting to an age where, that's kind of on our list, so to speak, of unfortunately not being here. But the fact is he was able to buy either more insurance or spend less on insurance than he would have otherwise. And I think that's what becomes, the very attractive pieces, is that you did acquire that insurance. You did acquire more inexpensively than you would have conceived otherwise.
That's right.
That becomes somewhat of a big benefit that some folks just have no clue about it. Most advisors, I'd say it's less than 20% of the advisors have that knowledge, and maybe less than 10%, quite frankly.
Yeah, I think, Mike, I think you're right. And kind of if we're going to typify, whether it's, what we try to do in general for all clients, we're trying to find efficiencies, and we're trying to get above market returns while mitigating risk. Can you speak to that a little bit? Yeah,
and I'd add to that, Bob, that we're also trying to get as much into retirement plan in terms of contributions and making it deductible on their return. So we're trying to maximize the contributions, right, to reduce the current tax burden. We're also trying to maximize the efficiencies in there by trying to get some pretty good returns. Life insurance happens to be one of those things that provides a pretty good return if the plan's established properly and if the right policy selected. So you got to make sure that you're funding the right type of plan, and then the investments overall. We try to maximize those returns by looking at some pretty attractive investments, and I know your firm's brought some good ones to the table where they've been able to look at and vet some opportunities that just aren't in the marketplace. I mean, stock market's good, and you're going to get a 8% return over some long haul.
Sure.
But it's good that when you get older and you start to want to de-risk, let's say the market exposure, that
right.
You have some opportunities or some products that will allow you to do that, minimize the risk, but yet get you some pretty good returns. You don't have to now go into, CDs, although they've gotten pretty good, 5% over the last year or two. They're probably not going to be there forever. If you certainly look at beyond a year, or beyond 18 months, certainly the CDs are starting to dip again.
Right.
And so you're going to end up with some products that are going to start, waning on their availability. But, we've been able to find some pretty good products for our customers through, your sources.
Absolutely. So next question for you, and I could speak on this for an hour, because we've known each other a long time. We've known each other over 25 years, worked closely together over that time. But what do you think differentiates yourself from your competitors? What makes Mike Russo better?
I'm with a pretty good firm. We're about 80th in terms of size, but
Right.
size isn't everything
Nope.
when it comes to CPA firms. I mean, we are an aggressive regional firm that are very hands-on. It's not a firm that we delegated down to the staff. The partners are very active, very involved, and they, including myself, take that knowledge and apply it daily to our clients' benefit. So you're not necessarily dealing with staff on the higher end tax planning issues or financial planning issues. I think you've got a lot of good talent at my firm. I've got 30 partners, so
Yeah.
there's some good individuals there, and there's a lot of specialty that happens because we're big enough we can specialize in certain things. So whether it's tax credits that they can get, whether it's cost segregation they can get, I think we do some pretty novel things, and then we don't stop there.
Right.
Hey, we saved you some money on taxes. We can help with the deployment of those dollars into products that work for them. Now, we don't necessarily find the products and sell those products. We find intelligent and talented people like yourself, and you help marry the dollars we were able to squirrel away for individuals and make those or identify those efficient investments for them.
Absolutely. And that leads into my next question, which is what type of client, specific type of client, do you think benefits the most from your expertise?
Well, if you get the small practitioner, whether it's professional practice or somebody who's got a business with not a lot of employees, that certainly becomes somewhat of nirvana, where
Right.
you can tailor the retirement plan to really service them or benefit them the most. As you go up in the employee count, it does give you some products such as group type policies that they can take advantage of to maybe lower their cost of insurance or something like that, whether it's disability or life insurance. But by the same token, now you got to start sharing some of the pre-tax contributions with them.
Right.
So that's not the worst thing in the world. I mean, we always try to shoot for 80% of those dollars
Right.
going to the owners. So that's kind of where we try to shoot. That's kind of what our sweet spot is being able to put that kind of percentage away for the owners. And that's designing a plan in conjunction with some talented TPAs and investment counsels such as yourself to then start taking on and building the money, if you will, for the next husband, so to speak.
I love that you went back to that. So yeah, you're exactly right. And you and I have done a lot of these retirement plans together over the years, cash balance plans specifically, defined benefit plans. And you do find it's got to be the right client, right? They've got to have the need for a large tax deduction, and they've got to have the right makeup of employees. If they have high turnover, if they have a lot of part-time employees, or if they have no employees at all or very few employees, the plans are going to tend to meet at least that 80% you were referring to, sometimes more. I mean, you and I have done plans together where it's 100% to the owner.
Oh, sure.
Just based on
Sure.
the
And again,
demographics.
the age weighting as well. You didn't mention
That's right.
Age of you got a lot of young employees as well as the part-timers and the high turnover. All those things you take a look at. Hopefully you're not turning over your employees, and hopefully your employees are staying with you for a long time, so they are getting older. But all those things can give you a benefit to your overall business, but you get a jump start with your qualified contributions in the early stages, and maybe you got to share a little more as you go along. But it's not so bad to be able to get that out of the gate, where you can commit to putting some monies away and make it some significant dollars, because that's what's going to allow you to get that tax deferred growth on things, and really pay the taxes when you're in a lower tax bracket or many years down the road.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Mike, what do you think is the favorite part of your job?
I think the favorite part of my job is when you look at the overall picture. You save them taxes,
Right.
got money that they can identify as extra money that they can then go out and invest and start building the wealth. So it's a combination of those two things. Just stopping at a good tax outcome is one thing, but if you don't follow up and create the wealth build plan, you didn't get all the way there. So I think that's where a lot of folks fall short in my profession. Is they do an okay job of maybe getting the tax planning done, but now what? We try to look at ourselves as the quarterback, and so that we can kind of orchestrate that with all the other professionals to bring about an overall desired result, and not just a short term or interim or this year's result. We like to look at the global result.
Yeah, and I think that's critical. Is both on our end and also for the clients is to have a long term perspective with all investing, and just staying patient as you go through the process. What upcoming changes and opportunities do you see on the horizon for financial planning and then specifically tax planning?
Well, a lot of provisions of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that Trump had gotten passed in 2017, implemented mostly in 2018. A lot of those things are expiring in 2025 here, and that's going to be a bigger burden. Bigger burden comes with it some opportunity that if we can put even more money away in a plan, it's going to be potentially at higher tax rates. But hopefully we have lower tax rates, and we'll live with not as much tax savings and not as much tax overall going out the door.
Right.
But if the rates do go up, it becomes just more and more important that we look to do a good job at tax planning.
Oh, no question.
Keep as much in our pockets of our clients as possible.
You and I have worked on a lot of different things over the years, a lot of different investment ideas and programs, whether it be trading options, cash secured puts, covered calls, cash benefit, defined benefit plans, et cetera, et cetera. What do you think? What's one of your favorite things to work out of all those?
Clearly, ideas? when we've dealt with options and the puts and the calls, and we've done that, Bob, for 12 years, I think. Probably more than that. But I think in earnest, maybe 10, 12 years of that.
Right.
And we've had some home run years. I know one year I can remember where people were routinely in the 60% plus range of gains that year. It depends on the market, and right now I'm kind of seeing that market kind of coming around again, where you've got some good ability to pick up some good dollars in those trading of calls and options. I think one thing that becomes a no-brainer once you understand that is, why would you ever sell a stock unless you think the stock was going to go down? Why would you ever sell a stock without putting it under a call and
generating some income? Right.
Yeah, generate income as you're going to sell it. Generate more income than you're going to get if you just sold the stock.
Right.
It's like free money that's there for the taking when you sell a stock. Instead of just bailing out of a position or selling out of a position, why not take some extra money on the way out the door with you? So that was always a kind of a novel approach, that you could pick up 1 or 2% in a very short period of time. A few weeks or a month would be even a long time, but picking up 1 or 2% on the way out the door, if you're trying to get out of a position rather than just selling it outright, it seems almost silly that anybody would just sell just for the sake of selling without at least taking advantage of it. And most folks don't understand that, or most people don't like to get that involved in it. But clearly you've made almost a career with the amount of folks that you've turned on to that. So I think that's a really neat thing. Same thing with buying a stock. Why would you buy a stock necessarily without looking at least at a covered put?
Right.
Selling a covered put and buying it that way. It just seems like there's money to be had. And again, 1 or 2%, you'd say, well, isn't that much? But if you're talking about only 2 weeks or a month, boy, that's a pretty good return.
Yeah.
And so that's always neat. And so we've certainly seen some where they've been just just home runs where you just, where it's not 1 or 2%, it's 4 or 5 or 6% for a couple of weeks, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, and I think in general, whatever specific strategies we're talking about, the big thing is to have a plan and to be tactical and strategic as we deliver it. And I think that's one thing we've done really well together over the years. So I've just got a couple personal questions to kind of wrap this up today. So the first thing, I know you were very well traveled. What was your absolute favorite place that you have visited, and why?
Well, that's a tough one, Bob. I've visited lots of places, like you said, and some for work. I've been fortunate, and I've done a lot of overseas travel for business, and certainly some for pleasure. I always come back to I enjoy Africa a whole heck of a lot. It's just so peaceful, and the people are so genuine, and the sights that you see. You go to a zoo, you see a lot of animals that you wouldn't see otherwise, and you don't realize if you went to Africa how many more animals you'd see. It's just amazing. Animals that you didn't even think existed on the planet, and you run into a herd of them, and it's just crazy. And seeing them in their natural habitat, which you aren't going to get in a zoo. You might see it on some of the National Geography TV shows, but when you're out there with them, and you see those things, it's just it's awe-inspiring. That's probably my favorite thing. I'm a guy who likes to be in the bush rather than in concrete, so it kind of fits into my psyche as well.
Nice. It's absolutely on my list one day to get over there. That's awesome. And I believe you've done it several times, right? Like 7 or 8 times to Africa.
Yep. I think I've been there 7 or 8 times in Africa.
That's awesome.
And I've got some friends over there that I've developed over that time period. I think my first trip was in 2000, so I've had a number of trips over there. My kids have been over there, and I remember having to drag them over there, and they're thinking, what a horrible thing. Dad's making us go to Africa. And, some of the places we were going didn't have electricity. How am I going to plug in my hair curler?
Right.
It was a bit of a chore. But when we came back, the more remote the place was, the more rustic it was, the more animals they saw. They were just wowed by the whole thing of, geez, this is just so amazing to be able to get out. And, who needs electricity when, you got a bunch of hurricane lanterns lighting the walkways, and you hear the animals at night, and it's just crazy.
Oh, that's awesome. Final question. I understand that you're quite the car enthusiast. What are some of your favorite cars and why?
Well, you know what? I do like cars. They're just, I find them kind of like to be artwork.
Yeah.
So it doesn't need to be anything more than just the style of a car, that just a line on a car, or a curve on a car, or how the car is shaped in the front. I just enjoy kind of the creativity. I like art, and to me, cars become a piece of art. The way they design them. Probably my favorite car at the moment. I just happen to be driving it at the moment. Is my Lucid.
Yes.
The struggling new car company, but I took it to a car club meeting because they had all these hot rods and things like that, and they certainly had beautiful cars, no doubt about it. Anything from probably the 40s forward, and some modern cars, the new Corvettes and whatnot, which are just delightful to look at. But you bring that car there, and it just attracts a crowd because nobody's ever heard of the car.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever seen a car like that, and the drag coefficient on a Lucid is like 1.6. It's like one of the lowest coefficients ever manufactured, and people just are amazed that there's these cars out there nowadays that are just so cool looking and so novel with their technologies.
You're right, and it is really cool when you look over a lot of years how year to year that art changes, right? In terms of design and technology and all of it.
Sure, and what used to be attractive was big metal.
Right.
And
right.
and big cars, and now they're going into things that have like a little certain curve in the side panel that
right.
just look like it cuts right through the air.
Yeah.
So I like all of them. I just don't like, the new stuff. The old stuff certainly has a warm spot in my heart, so to speak. But it's just cool to see, cars that are just created out of metal into something that's like I said, close to artwork.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Mike. This was a wonderful conversation. I think our audience is really going to appreciate your knowledge, your background, and a lot of what you were able to share with today. So thank you, Mike.
Pleasure, Bob.
Oh, this was great. Thank you. This is the Multi-Millionaire Mindset Podcast.
It's just cool to
and my guest was Mike Russo. We had a nice chat today, and I'll look forward to seeing you back at a future podcast. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.